Joe Rogan famously follows the carnivore diet, boosting its popularity in recent years.
Like literally the best I ever felt all throughout the day was when I was on the carnivore diet.
But is it really that effective for fat loss, and should you do it? I tried it for a couple of weeks using the same diet that Joe uses himself to see whether it lives up to the hype.
90% of my diet is just meat and fruit.
And to assess if the main claims made about the carnivore diet are true or rubbish. But what is the carnivore diet? It's simple. The carnivore diet consists of eating purely animal-based products, so essentially just meat and eggs. Some people go carnivore because of its reported health benefits, but most people will turn to it to help with their fat loss. This is because due to the lack of carbohydrate availability, the body utilizes fat as fuel, turning it into ketones, which are used for energy, ultimately speeding up the weight and fat loss process, similar to another famous fad diet. Regardless of how it works, what is it like to eat like Joe, and does it match up to the claims that people make? My cravings for non-meat, animal-related foods went through the roof. This is made even worse if you go really basic with your food choices. However, in the second week when I added fruit back into the diet, this did subside a bit. Secondly, we have feeling full and a lack of desire for snacking. Now, this actually was accurate. Eating whole foods and mostly meat did leave me full, and I found that there was times in between meals where normally I'd be a bit peckish, where that wasn't the case anymore. You also don't really need to eat too much in each meal because there's only so much meat you can handle. You can eat really well and be full after every meal and still maintain a deficit. And last of all, rapid weight loss.
I was shedding a lot of weight. I think it was like 7 pounds down 2 weeks in.
I didn't track any calories, and in 2 weeks, I lost 2 kilos in weight. That being said, although 2 kilos did come off, it's likely that was all water weight that was being held on to by all the carbohydrates in my system. As I stopped using carbs, my body used up all that was left, and because I wasn't replacing it, that weight then stayed off. Like any other diet, after that initial spike, I'm sure it would even itself out. That being said, it's proof that it can definitely be a good tool for weight loss. And if you stuck with it over a long period of time, I'm sure that it would continue doing the same thing and you would cut down a lot of weight. What's good about being on the carnivore diet? It really is minimal effort. And even if you don't want to count your calories, you can have essentially whatever you want and you still will lose weight at the end of it. Secondly, once my body was used to not having carbohydrates, I didn't really get any crashes in energy levels.
When you have no carbohydrates, one of the things that's most amazing is that there's no crashing.
Because you're only getting a small amount of carbs from some fruit, if you choose to have fruit, you don't really get that crash in the afternoon. So you are feeling quite consistently energized throughout the day. And the last benefit, your meal planning, your shopping is so straightforward and simple. One of the main things which trips people up on their fat loss journey is the planning side. At least on this diet, it is so straightforward that you know that you can only have a small amount of food, that as long as you stick to that and you don't go on a binge, you are fine and you will lose weight. And now in terms of the negatives, there is a very big adjustment period to begin with when you're first starting the diet. I went from a position where I was eating a lot of food and a lot of carbs to now obviously having none and just having meat and eggs. And it was quite a lot for my body to process. It took a few days to get used to it.
Keto fog has nothing on the carnivore diarrhea. You do not trust farts. You do not trust your butthole.
And also switching up your diet so drastically brings along a lot of cravings, which is negative number 2. Having such a restricted diet for most people will probably be hard to adhere to. If your friends want to have a meal out, if you want to have a takeaway, you can't. It does make it mentally challenging. However, if you push past that, or that's something which you don't think would be a problem for you, then potentially this might not be a negative. And the last negative is, of course, the expense. The first week I tried to get in as many different food sources as possible to add some variety to the diet, and it wound up being around 70 pounds. The second week I tried to go as cheap as I possibly could, and it was around 40 pounds. However, that obviously comes with a much lower quality of meat, so it is a mixed bag, but it could wind up being pretty expensive if you choose to go on the high end. So should you do it for fat loss? There's no doubt that the carnivore diet can definitely help you to lose fat. However, I would say that the exact same results could be achieved through a balanced diet with a mixture of food groups. The main reason the carnivore diet works so well is because it's hard to eat so many calories, so it's easier to adhere to a deficit. If you were to put structures in place in your normal diet so that you control your calories and you control your intake and output, you could achieve the exact same thing. There's no real need to go to such extremes in order to get that level of fat loss. However, if you're someone that struggles with a less structured diet and you've potentially tried the normal route and it's not worked out for you and you could do with having a rigid set of rules, then it might be the thing to try.
Just try a carnivore diet. Try it straight out.
Right.
And I think you'll be amazed at how good you feel.
All in all, I think the carnivore diet definitely has some positives. But for me personally, the restriction was so frustrating that I'd never be able to sustain it. I think completely cutting out food groups isn't the best idea, and it's better to find a way to balance everything together. Additionally, learning that discipline for yourself so you can have things that you like without it leading to weight gain. If you have done the carnivore diet, then let us know how you've got on with it down in the comments below. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.